Alright, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like Star Wars games are going extinct. And I know that might sound a little bit dramatic, but hear me out, hear me out. Yes, there are a bunch of new Star Wars games which are coming out in the future, which have been announced, which I'll get to really soon. But it feels like each and every year, there are less and less Star Wars games to look forward to. 20 years ago was the year 2005. In that year, we had 4 of the most iconic Star Wars games released ever. The golden age of Star Wars gaming, including Republic Commando, Avengers Sith video game, Battlefront 2, and Lego Star Wars, all in the same year. Can you imagine what that was like? We never knew how good we had it, guys. We never knew. Oh, we had it good. They were cooking back then.
The galaxy belongs to me.
The thing is, I made a video really similar to this one about a year ago, and there's not much that has changed based on what I talked about in that video to this, apart from the fact there are less games on the horizon. How is that even possible? What are they doing? Star Wars is literally a money printing machine. Do you not know? We will buy it. Even if it kinda sucks, we'll buy it. Give me Ahsoka Tano, I'll buy the game. Let me play as Darth Vader, I'll buy the game. Let me play as Obi-Wan, Master Yoda, Jango Fett, Boba Fett. Heck, even if they made a Snoke game at this point, I would definitely buy it and play it, and probably enjoy it. But the future of Star Wars gaming is changing. The current state of Star Wars games is in a strange place, probably stranger than it's ever been. Well, that's not necessarily true, considering Star Wars destroyed LucasArts way back in 2012, and Disney bought it, and the rest is history. Here we are, so many years later, still wondering where all the Star Wars games are. Today I'm going to tell you where they are, and what's coming next, and what there is to look forward to. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. I always, personally, try and remain positive and optimistic about the future of Star Wars, and the future of Star Wars games. I've loved and played Star Wars games all the way back since 1999 when I played my first Star Wars game, the Phantom Menace pod racing game, still one of the best Star Wars games in my opinion, Star Wars Racer, oh my gosh, it's so good. And as I let Watto abuse me from the menu screen,
This part no good for you, huh?
I thought, wow, Star Wars is great. Star Wars games are great. Surely they'll have a great future. And for quite some time they did. But 1999 was a long time ago, and here we are 26 years later, and I'm still playing and enjoying and talking about Star Wars games. But they're not exactly in the place I think any of us want them to be. It feels like there's a real scarcity. Like, it's a rare sight to see a Star Wars game nowadays, let alone a Star Wars game you're gonna enjoy playing. And oddly enough, looking back at 2024, there were quite a few Star Wars games that released in that year, including the Phantom Menace re-release, the Battlefront Classic Collection, the Bounty Hunter Remaster, Star Wars Hunters, Star Wars Outlaws, and I guess the Indiana Jones game kind of counts, and then we also had the Lego Fortnite Star Wars content. And last year served as a bit of a trend of, I think, more of what's to come. Yes, they are making more new Star Wars games, but before that, we're going to be getting more remasters, more re-releases, and more DLC updates for games that you don't necessarily play. For example, almost a year ago, Disney paid $1.4 billion to buy a stake in Epic Games to start building their own franchised games within Fortnite.
Really?
This means that alongside the Fortnite Battle Royale, alongside Lego Fortnite, in the future, there are potentially, most likely, going to be a bunch of Disney-themed games based on the franchises of Disney. They're basically building Disney Infinity 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0. I don't know how many numbers there are. I can't count. That's not what I'm here for. We're here to talk about why they can't just make Battlefront 3. I can count to 3. Battlefront 1, there's Battlefront 2, I can't seem to find Battlefront 3. Why have they never made it? It doesn't exist. And it seems like it won't for quite some time, seeing as though EA seem to really not want to touch anything to do with Battlefront 3 and online multiplayer Star Wars games. Now, I think, yes, it is kind of unfair to compare Star Wars gaming now to where it was 20 years ago. So much has changed in the world. Now we have smartphones, social media, AI technology, Battlefront 3. Oh wait, it still doesn't exist.
It's a trap!
Imagine being a kid in 2005 and someone tells you, hey, they're never actually gonna release Battlefront 3, like ever. Like it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna release. You would be gobsmacked, mind blown that they couldn't make Battlefront 3. But it does look like at the moment, the future of Star Wars gaming is gonna be more of the same. More content within other games, such as Minecraft, such as Fortnite, such as goodness knows, whatever you can name, they'll probably put Star Wars in it at some point. Do you guys know about Rule 35? If you can think of something that could be a Star Wars product, it already exists. So in the next year, here's what you can look forward to. More Star Wars within other games such as Fortnite. Who knows when we're going to hear the announcement or the release of whatever Epic Games Disney thing they're making. Hopefully it's good, hopefully it's fun, and hopefully it isn't just an extension of another pre-existing game like Fortnite. Hopefully it becomes its own thing. Now before I talk about every up-and-coming Star Wars game that is set to release sometime in the future, I want to talk about where we were this time last year. At that point, Respawn was still developing developing their Mandalorian first-person shooter game. What happened to that one? Well, my friends, they stabbed it in the back with a knife and it's no longer in existence.
What?
Apparently some people played it internally and there were reports that it actually was pretty fun. It's going to be a single-player game similar to the Titanfall games in some respects, I guess. It was Respawn anyway who were developing it. But that one will likely now never see the light of day. A lot of people were also genuinely looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws. And even though I personally didn't have many problems with the game, although I did have some, a lot of people completely hated it, which is totally fair. And it wasn't the Star Wars game we all wanted anyway. The thing is with Star Wars Outlaws though, and for that matter any other single-player Star Wars game, they have a really short lifespan. Basically it's years of development, then there's a bit of hype for maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, and then the game's dead. No one's really playing it, unless you're picking it up later, maybe a few months or a few years later once they've dropped the price. What Star Wars needs, and what I've been saying for such a long time now, is a live service game. We need another Battlefront. We need another shooter or another online game. Yes, we have Star Wars Hunters, but it's not really the same. We all know that. Star Wars Hunters is not the Star Wars game I'm talking about that we need. What's that? Sorry? They still haven't released Battlefront 3. Still. Like the video if you want to see Battlefront 3. And subscribe so I can get to 1 million followers before they ever announce Battlefront 3 ever happening. Now, like I said, I personally want to be optimistic and positive about the future of Star Wars gaming. So here is basically everything we have to look forward to at this current moment in time. It's likely we're going to get a bunch of announcements around Star Wars Celebration. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a game or two announced around then, and maybe we get more information on some of the games they're already making, such as the third Jedi game. This is supposed to be the conclusion of Cal Kestis' story, developed by Respawn, but the thing is, Stig Asmussen, who is the lead game developer on Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, left the company over a year ago. So he's not even involved in the final game. I assume he gave it some sense of direction before he left, but it still seems strange that the game director of a trilogy isn't going to be involved in the last game. That would be like George Lucas selling Star Wars to Disney after Empire Strikes Back. Can you imagine? That's like if George Lucas made A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back and was like, you know what, I'm gonna let someone else write and fully create Return of the Jedi. So I really hope Jedi 3 isn't a train wreck. I love the Jedi games. I think they're some of the best Star Wars storytelling we've had in the Disney era of Star Wars. I have really high hopes for Jedi 3 being the conclusion to the saga that we all want and need. Come on, Respawn, get us across the line. We all need a win. Let Merrin and Cal get married and have babies and live happily ever after. That's the ending I want. Now, Respawn are also working on something else, and I think this Star Wars game is possibly the closest to being released. It's the Star Wars RTS game that's being developed in conjunction with a new studio called Bit Reactor. This one is going to be a real-time strategy game, a style of Star Wars game we have not had in many years, over a decade, well over a decade. And this one seems pretty solid from all the murmurings at the moment. It seems like this one is 100% going forward. They're pretty deep into creating it, and it's going to cater to both hardcore RTS players who've grown up and played RTS games their whole life, and also new players who maybe necessarily have never played an RTS in their life. Empire at War was never my thing, man. I gotta try it. People tell me to try it all the time. I gotta try Empire at War. Tell me if you want me to try Empire at War. I'll try Empire at War and see if I can bring some more war to the Empire. Maybe the sequel's gonna be called Empire at Peace, just like Palpatine wanted.
We shall.
Do you guys remember Visceral Games? They were an EA studio, and at one point, before they were completely shut down by EA, they no longer exist, they were developing a Star Wars game. They'd hired Amy Hennig to lead game development. She previously worked on the Uncharted series, and it's said that she is currently developing a new Star Wars game with Skydance New Media, or another new game developer studio. The game's going to be an action-adventure game, likely third person, another probably story-based game. This one, there's really no news about at all, apart from the fact that it's being developed somewhere behind the scenes, but it's unclear whether Respawn are going to continue working on new Star Wars third-person games after the third Jedi game releases. So I'm glad that there's going to be more of this style of Star Wars game to look forward to in the future. What they were doing at EA so many years ago now, nearly 10 years ago, honestly looked pretty cool. So the fact that that was shut down, I think it was called Project Ragtag. I hope some of the ideas from that have been brought over to this new Star Wars game at this new studio. We also have Star Wars Eclipse. Now this one is in a bit of a limbo, it seems. It is being developed by by Quantic Dream and is set to be their next released game, with Quantic Dream not having released a game since Detroit Become Human in 2018. Now, this one is also surrounded with a bit of controversy and is possibly also in a bit of development limbo. We don't really know what's happening at the moment with this one, considering there were lawsuits at the company about sexual harassment, a bunch of nonsense going on. I don't know, guys. We just want Star Wars games. And that trailer they released over 3 years ago was basically just a ploy to get developers to come and work at the studio. It's like an ad for, hey, we're making a Star Wars game. We need developers to come build it. We have nothing apart from a trailer. Make the trailer before they make the game. That don't make no sense to me. Usually they don't make the trailer before they make the movie. So who knows what's happening with Star Wars Eclipse. Hopefully we'll see it one day. And then we also have the Knights of the Old Republic remake. This one is being developed by Saber Interactive. It was previously being developed by Aspyr. Sony and PlayStation are involved. And the last we heard about this one was on April 2nd in 2024, where the CEO confirmed that the remake is alive and well. I think it's likely, based on previous years of Star Wars news in the gaming space, we're going to hear something possibly even within the next month about up-and-coming Star Wars games. We might even get some new announcements coming out. This month, we also have the Jedi Power Battles re-release to look forward to if you want to play a game that released way back and probably feels kind of the same with maybe some updated mechanics and updated physics, but it's an old game. We want new games at the end of the day. I think there is still some hope for a new golden era of Star Wars gaming as well. I think we can somehow still get back to what it was in the early 2000s when there seemed to be a ridiculous amount of Star Wars games releasing, but it's probably going to be a few years away. I'd say they'd want to tie that in with the release of the up-and-coming Star Wars films that are set to start releasing from 2026 onwards, starting with the Mandalorian and Grogu film. It feels like that are what Disney is setting up to be kind of the resurgence of Star Wars, the next wave of Star Wars projects coming in after this streaming series era that we're currently still in and is a bit hit and miss.
Go.
Honestly though, guys, I'm just trying to spread the word about Star Wars games. I love Star Wars games. I want more Star Wars games, and I'm trying to keep them alive through this channel, through me talking about them more, through me creating a bit of buzz about them, and get everyone else talking about them. Maybe if I make more Battlefront 3 videos, one day they'll actually make the game. But if you could choose one Star Wars game to get made, please tell me what it'd be in the comments. And also watch this video for Battlefront stuff, and thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.